Okay, we're going to start with what is Discover Mobile. So Discover Mobile is a mobile application for field mapping and geological mapping that is part of your Discover package. What does this mean for you is that if you're a Discover user, either for GIS or MapInfo, you have the right and the ability to work with Discover Mobile. It is free to download for everybody. You just need a Discover license to create the project. It gives you, we're going to speak about more about the capabilities later, but it gives you the possibility to work offline, to take your data everywhere and to capture your data. And you can synchronize one project with different crews, different people, with different users. Now, how can you get Discover Mobile? As I mentioned, it's free. All you need to do is go to your App Store, the Google Play or Apple Store, and look for Datamine Discover. You're looking for this symbol here and download it. And you can even start playing around with the app because it has a demo project preset. If you want to create your own project, I'm going to give you the starting point. You can work from there. It is unlimited, meaning that you can download as many applications as you want. As I mentioned, you just need a Discover desktop to create a project. It is not linked one-to-one. You don't need to have like this one license for one license or the same user to use a mobile desktop. You can, if I'm the database geo, I can create a project and I can share it with different people, even if they have different users names. So it doesn't link. Now we're going to speak about the benefits, some of the features. We're not going to get time to go through all of them, but I want to give you just a general overview. And if you have any questions or you're interested in a particular thing, please reach out to us and more than welcome to expand on the topic. So what are the benefits of having Discover Mobile? So I mentioned it's a dedicated geological mapping tool. It's designed for geologists. You can do any type of field data acquisition, but is specifically themed or designed for geologists, giving you the capability of doing structural data capture, take a structural measure within the app, and display your data in the way you want to see it. It has a drill core projection integrated. It's built for online in remote areas. You can completely work offline. The only thing that it needs to have an internet connection to refresh is Google Maps. It is not central. You don't need any centralization or the DBA to administrate it. It has an ad mapping tool integrated with Discover, which is one of the latest, I'll say 1 to 2 years functionalities integrated with Discover. You can connect a high precision GPS for higher confidence. It will work with your GPS, call it the GPS of the phone or the GPS from the tablet. But if you are very particular about precision for the GPS, which is fair enough, you can connect an external one. We're going to speak about the options later. You can integrate it with your database system. There's no need to juggle between notepads, camera, and compass. I'm a geologist, as I mentioned in the introduction, and when I did my bachelor, I had to carry everything and like taking notes and then trying to correlate where the photo belongs to the sampling point. You don't need to do that anymore with Discover. Everything is linked to your sampling point and everything is your reference. And you can even record your comments in an audio type of format, which I particularly love. Like sometimes writing all your observations can become a bit tedious. So you can link an audio or what we call voice notes, WhatsApp, for example, to your sampling point. So what are the features? You will synchronize your project by Wi-Fi or directly by connecting a cable or your device. Because a lot of people had asked, like, what if I'm in a place where I don't have internet? How can I synchronize the project? That's okay. You can still do it directly, like with a file transfer. It has a full vector image and grid GIS support. You can set up your tables and pick lists as you want. You create your project design for what you need. And you can use desktop thematics or create on device. So you can bring the thematic map over from your desktop, or you can create it on the fly on the mobile. You have a ruler to measure distances, a GPS integration for precise location, You can create manual points, like say I want the point to be in X and Y, or you can default to your location by using the GPS, which is again pretty handy because, as I mentioned, you don't need to be with the GPS, with the camera, with the notebook. You just press the point and it will know where you are. And all the information will be related to that point. It has a geofencing to avoid going into sensitive areas. I'm not gonna go very deep into geofencing because we have a previous webinar about that, which Tim, with my colleague here present, and explain about it. Also, this is a good moment to say that I'm gonna focus, say mainly on Discover Mobile from MapInfo, but the concept, the workflow, the features are the same for ArcGIS. My colleague team will speak more about ArcGIS in a future webinar, so keep tuned. It's quick and easy for object labeling. You can search for objects based on attributes, and you can display coordinates, length, and area and perimeter of map objects. Now, what else? We have full structural symbol support. So because your structural measurements will have pick lists for structural measurements associated, the moment you take the measurement and you change it to thematic display, you will get a view like the one here, and can also display it on a StereoNet view. You can take the measurements within the app with the structural compass. You will have a navigational compass as well. You have a waypoint finder similar to what you do in Google Maps, where you're gonna go to from point A to point B, that it will tell you where to walk, how far it is. You can use it in portrait or landscape, depending what you prefer. You can capture the path traveled using tracking tools, which is often forgotten, but it's a tool that a lot of our clients found really useful because you can the fact that you can track where you have been walking and come back exactly the same path is really useful. You can display your drill hole and trench data. You can capture geolocated rock outcrops and digitize interpretations. We're gonna see a quick video about this in a moment because I think this is a pretty cool feature. And you can capture and modify the spatial data sets with validations. Now let's speak about the workflow. I guess I'm gonna focus on the things that people often have questions about or often struggle with. And from what I have seen and what I have done, what I think it will be useful for you. We are not going to do that on the software. I'm not going to create a full project because I found out that that's really useful and I have a video that I will send to you. But because each of your projects is going to be different and you're going to have and want to collect different data sets, I'd rather give you the tools so you know where to start, because that's always the question. Where do I start? And after that, hopefully you get the courage and you feel more comfortable going and creating your project. But again, don't feel like this is your last chance. Like if you have any questions when you are doing it yourself, please reach out to us because we're here to help. Okay, so the first question is, what data do I have? We need to think about this question and answer these questions because that's the data that you will take into the field and that will be the base point of your project. Now, there's a difference between the data that you have and the data that you want to bring into the project. Because you might have 10 maps, but maybe you don't really need them on the field. And we recommend being selective because Discover will have the capability to bring it. But as any other solution or any other software, the more data you put, the heavier your project gets. So be selective, delimit your project to the area that you're really interested, and start from there. What type of data you can include? You can include digital elevation models, any historical map georeference, any geophysical maps, map info tables, and for example, tracks and roads that you already have. So that's that's probably the best starting point. Now, in terms of historical maps and rasters in general, I would say that one of the main reasons to get obstacles or challenge when bringing image is that MapInfo by default or tends to turn off a raster functionality on MapInfo Pro. So if you're having problems with including rasters, please reach out to us and we can let you know where to take that option. Or it might be that the image is not correctly georeferenced and it's not matching your other raster, so that could also create conflict. In general, if you're experiencing issues with the rasters, there can be different scenarios, and depending on the case, we can provide a solution. Okay, what data I would like to collect? That's the second question. Because once you have your maps and you have delimited your area, we have to think, okay, is this for a field sampling, like I'm going to do soil sampling? Is this for structural geology mapping? Is this just for recognition? What do I want to do and what type of data I want to collect? I'm going to do outcrop mapping. All these type of questions is the things that we need to ask ourselves. Once you know, okay, let's say I'm going to do soil sampling. Okay, what columns or fields do I need? I'm gonna need my sample ID. I'm gonna need my GPS location. I'm gonna need the date. I'm gonna need the person responsible for it. I want to fill for a photo, all these things. And I always say to my clients, like, just start by doing a drawing or creating the table on Excel. Like, start simple. Once you know that, how big your characters or your fields need to be. Because this concept of tables and data validations, and I understand it might be a bit overwhelming at the beginning and probably a new concept for all of us. But once you start getting into the logic behind, I promise it gets easier. So the important thing or the main thing is understanding what data and what is the type of data. So if you want to collect the sample ID, that's going to be a character because it's going to have letters and numbers, or it's just going to be numbers, things like that. And we can speak about this forever, but I'm just trying to get the ball rolling with the basics. Okay, once you have that, you can go to create your actual tables and create your pick list and create your validations. So you will say, okay, I'm going to collect color, but I already know what colors more or less I will expect. So you create a pick list with your colors, so you don't have to write them every time. And then you're going to associate that pick list to the field color on your table. And then you're going to validate that. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of validations, and all this will make more sense. That part is important, and that's where also people tend to get into roadblocks, because maybe you want to put, as I mentioned, letter in a field that is just for numbers, or maybe the pick list that you're trying to associate to a field is longer, meaning that like you put a code that is very long and you're trying to associate it with a field that has just 3 characters as a limit, things like that. Now, once you are happy with your project, you have set all your validations, everything is working good. Now you're going to check out your project and you're going to bring it to your mobile. By checking out the project, you can do this by Wi-Fi or connecting directly. And once you check out the project, you're ready to go, and the player will appear on your phone. And then when you start doing all the data collection, I'm going to show you some examples of how to do that. And once you finish collecting that, you're going to bring the project back. You're going to check it in. Now, this check-in process is automatic in the way that you could click the button and it appears on your phone, but it's not live. So you check out the project, meaning that it's not in the desktop, it's in your computer now. Sorry, it's not in the computer, it's on your phone now. You do your work and you bring it back. While you're doing the work on the field, that data is not going to be reflected directly on your desktop by magic. We need to check in back the project, and then the project is going to disappear from your phone. I'm mentioning this because there was a question about this. So just to make clear, a smooth process is quick, and you can get data updated in a matter of minutes once the data collection is done, but you still need to go through that process. It's not going to be reflected automatically. Especially because most of the times you're going to be working offline, so it wouldn't be a streamlined process to make it live, because then the internet connection becomes an issue, and Discover is designed to work offline. Now, I'm going to speak a bit more in depth and give you some examples of table validations, because again, I have seen that This is where all including myself, we struggle sometimes. So for data validations, this is an example of MapInfo, but our Discover for ArcGIS will have a similar algorithm behind. And Tim, as I mentioned, will explain that to you in the next webinar. So, okay, this is, for example, for my field mapping. So as I mentioned, I have a station, I have the day, the prospect, GPS, lithology color. So color, as I mentioned before, will have a pick list. So I have to associate my pick list to that. That's fine, all good. Now, another thing that I have to do, I need to tell the system which parameter I'm reading or I'm going to capture with each of my fields. Because just because I name GPS X and GPS Y, Discover won't know by default that that's for the GPS. And why it is important? Because you will see that when you open your project in Discover Mobile, the GPS X and the GPS Y will be populated automatically because Discover knows that that's for the GPS reading. If we don't set this parameter, that won't happen. It's just going to be another field that you need to populate manually. So we need to associate the parameters. Same case for the photo. So when we create a field for the photo, we need to tell the system that this is going to be a photo. What that's gonna do is gonna trigger the camera on your phone when you open your login layout. Now here's a trick or a tip, more than a trick. The photo field needs to be 254 characters. So please remember that because that's important. It's the longest you can set a field to be. What else? If you want, for example, a field to be to have a default value, let's say you're always going to work with, not always, but you're going to work with the same project for a certain amount of time, and you don't want to be typing that project name every time, you can default the value. You can also set increments, and for date, you can set it as current date, so it will automatically read the date. So just by doing this, by doing that, and by doing that, we already took out 5 fields that we need to populate. The system is going, or Discover Mobile is going to do it for you. You don't have to worry about that, which is good, right? That's what we want. Now, for outcrop mapping is a bit different. You have to set different validations. Sorry, this is for structural measurements. My bad. So for structural measurements, the important thing is that you have a lookup table. You can use the one from Discover because it already knows what symbols to associate. It's called Structure Australia for our clients in Australia. And then the second more important thing is that you tell the system that the deep is going to be a deep, and the deep direction is going to need a deep direction. By doing this, when you open your app, it's going to trigger the compass within that. If you don't do that, you can still fill the field, but you will need to do it manually. Now, another question that I receive often is like, do I need to use the compass on the phone? Can I still use my compass? And I understand that's why a lot of us learn. That's fine. You can still do it. You just leave that field empty and you put the measurement manually. So it's up to you. We have the tool and it works really well and will make life easier, but you can still do it your way. As long as you have the filters, that data is going to be saved. Now, this is a short video, not so short, maybe like that, about how to check out the project, how to do some point data acquisition on what Discover Mobile, and how to bring it back. I'm not going to play it for time purposes, but time management purposes, but I'm going to send it to you, to everybody that registered, and you can go through it. This is just about the check-in and check-in. We spoke about how to set your tables before. And again, please, any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. The one that I do want to show you, just to make sure everything is working well, can you all see the video of outcome mapping? Yeah?
Yes.
Anybody? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so this is an example of how outcome mapping works on your mobile. I'm just gonna play it for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna walk you through it. So you're gonna go and take a photo of the outcrop. You're gonna name it. In this case, this table only has 2 fields, but you can set as many fields as you want. You go and take the photo. And then it's going to ask you for the scaling method. You can do it 2 ways. You can buy a laser pointer, and it will tell you the distance from the wall or from the face, or you can use a reference object like a rock pick. If you're going to use a laser pointer, just make sure that it works on outdoors with the sun, because some of them are mainly designed for dark areas. The system will know, or the mobile will know the height from where you're holding the phone, so you don't need to worry about that. It's mostly the distance. You can still change the parameter if you want. And then this specific project has a layer to draw over the outcrop. So you can say, okay, this is a sandstone versus a siltstone, and make your drawings, and you will bring those drawings back into your desktop application, and it will be georeferenced. And you can display them on 3D. Now you can select if you want the photo to be a drape or a section. If it's a drape, all you need is a DTM, and the photo will drape over the DTM. I'm gonna forward a bit. And now, if you notice, we have another table for images, which these images are within the outcrop. So essentially, you go and take a close-up of the layer that you want, because that's often the case, right? Like, oh, I see the outcrop from far, and that's fine, but I want a close-up. And then understanding what's the scale of that image versus the previous one, and where exactly that outcrop belongs, that can be really complicated just doing it with your normal camera. So this tool in Discover will know exactly where your photo was taken within that outcrop, which is another cool thing. Now, this is a part where we take the measurement. So you go on at a point, and because this is a deep direction field, it will know and it will trigger the compass. And all you have to do is set the compass on your plane or on your lineation and capture it. As easy as that. And by selecting which type of structure it is, it will associate a symbology or a style to it. Now, I'm going to keep moving because we're running a bit out of time. And I'm going to speak about how to take the structural measurements. That's also often a question that people have when they go to the field. So if you're taking planes, please position your mobile, either your tablet or your phone, lengthwise over the strike of the plane, as a picture that is showing here. Here is an example on the field where like the plane is striking from this direction to this direction, and you position your plane or along lengthwise along the strike. Now, when you're taking a plane, please make sure that you select plane on the compass. And for lineations, we need to position the phone perpendicular to the plane where the lineation is, as the photo is showing here. So that's incorrect. That's for planes. That's correct. And when you're taking the measurement, please make sure that you select lineation. Now, as I mentioned, the Discover mobile has a lot of features, a lot of capabilities, and some of them you probably have already seen. And the video that I will send you, you can see how to take point data like real soil samplings and stuff like that. We have done a webinar on geofencing. One thing that, as I mentioned, is often forgotten and I think is useful is the tracking. So I'm just going to play this small video about how the tracking works or how it looks in real life, which is essentially as you're driving, you will see what is your path. This is on the way back. So that was the way in, and that's the way back. And those are some of the sampling points. Now the red polygon, that's a geofence. And when you leave that geofence, the phone starts carrying crazy and it will give you a warning, which is really useful to make sure you keep where you want to be. That's it. Oh, just to speak about more about the GPS, as you mentioned, you can connect an external GPS. These are some of the brands that our team has tested and they work really well, which is L for EOS. There were a few questions about GPS, particular to the topic. I'll come back to you to answer those ones because it requires a bit of longer explanation. I'll email you after this.